So you're thinking about making that move to Utah. You want to know what some of the things that you should avoid are? Well, everyone is looking for that perfect place to live and call home. However, Utah should be avoided if you can't handle these 7 things that I'm going to share with you today, because Utah isn't for everybody. And once again, if you can't handle these 7 things, you might want to reconsider moving to the great state of Utah. So, number 7 on my list is the weather and air quality here in Utah. So, if you can't handle the weather, all 4 seasons, everything else, then you should avoid Utah. Winter time here, we get snow. We get anywhere from about 12 inches all the way up to 6 feet of snow. Just depends on which part of Utah that you're going to be wanting to live in. There are 4 main areas. I'm going to cover those in a little bit, so just stay tuned for that. But in the winter, we get snow here, so you're going to have to deal with shoveling your driveway, plowing your driveway, that sort of thing. Not enough where it makes it awful, because I live here myself and it's not really a huge deal. Springtime, you're going to absolutely love spring. That's when all the flowers start to bloom, your grass starts to grow. It warms up. You're tired of it being 20 to 40 degrees every day, so it's in the 50s to 70s. Springtime is amazing. Summer, that's when you're going to do most of your recreation, all your outdoor activities, camping, hiking, fishing, boating, all of that you're going to be doing in the summertime, and it's awesome. It's anywhere from the mid 70s all the way up to the low 100s. Can get hotter than that, if of course, if you're in certain areas of Utah, but typical 90 to 100 degree weather is our normal through the summertime. It's awesome, especially in the nighttime once the sun goes down and it's 80 outside and it's not humid at all. Fall, you absolutely will love fall, because once again, the temperatures drop and the leaves start to change, and it's just an amazing time. Your lawn stops growing, so you don't have to mow that anymore or pay to have it mowed. And we're starting to get into the cooler weather and everything else, getting ready for wintertime. And then the mountains get a dusting of snow, which is super cool to see as well. As far as the air quality goes, we have something here called the inversion layer, and that's happens in November through about March, where we get the cold air is trapped by the warm air, and it causes some issues with breathing and whatnot. So you want to check with your doctor if you have any sort of breathing issues at all, asthma, that sort of thing. We also get in the summertime, typically we will have some sort of forest fires that come from California, Oregon, Washington, and they blow all their smoke our direction. So we get that. We also have our own fires, but since I've been here, we haven't had any fires that were major in Utah. When we did visit a few years back, California was having some major forest fires, and it was pretty awful for the week that we visited, where you couldn't really see the outlines of the mountains. Just know that that can happen. The number 6 thing you need to be aware of in Utah, and that's that there are 4 main areas that people are moving to here the most in Utah, and that's the St. George hurricane or hurricane area, which is the southern part of the state. That's the warmest, has the more mild winters, less snow, all of that. That area is exploding in size from people all over the country wanting to get out of their weather into our really nice dry weather that we have there. So that area is just growing tremendous in size and price as well. Then we have kind of out east of Utah, almost mid-state, I guess, and that's the Moab area. So Moab is amazing if you're into 4x4ing or side-by-side or hiking. You could do all of that in Moab. We go there every year in April for Easter Jeep Safari, and then we just went last month. My nephews messaged me and said, hey, we want to go camp, and it just happened to be on the eclipse time. So if you know about the eclipse that just happened, we were there in Moab, which is one of the best areas to see the eclipse, and so we camped. Super cool. 2 nights. I think it was $20 a night to camp at a nice little campsite, and it was awesome. Then we went out and did some trails on our Jeeps, and that was super fun. Then other people are moving to the Salt Lake City, Provo area, and I would say the majority of the people are moving in this area. That's where the most of the population is. That's where all the public transportation is. Everything else is in the Salt Lake City, Provo. Best jobs are in that area, especially in Lehigh, where we have our tech sector or Silicon Slopes, but they're going to be moving to the Salt Lake Provo area. And then you have like the northern Utah, which has a different feel, gets more snow, a lot of farming that goes on up in that area, but it's a completely different lifestyle to be in the northern Utah. So we have really four distinct areas, and you really need to discover which area you're wanting to live, what you're wanting to do. Do you want to ski and snowboard? Then you probably want to be in the Salt Lake area, because that's where the majority of our ski resorts are. However, we have ones up north and down south, so you can definitely ski and snowboard anywhere in Utah. But it was number 6. The number 5 thing that you're going to need to be aware of, and that's our sports here in Utah. We have no NFL football team. We have no NHL hockey team. We have no MLB baseball team. So 3 of the 4 major sports we don't have. We do have the NBA Jazz. So if you are a basketball fan, we have a great basketball team, and the fans here absolutely love basketball. And then the other thing that we have that's very, very popular here is college football. And that we have the University of Utah team and the BYU team. So you got 2 different teams kind of to root for football. The Utah team, the University of Utah team has been to the Rose Bowl the last 2 years. They may not make it this year because they just lost again, but we'll see if they can squeak that out. And then we also have an ECHL ice hockey team here called the Utah Grizzly. We have a rugby team, professional rugby team here that you can go watch. And we have an MLS soccer team. So we have a few of those. If you're into baseball, we have the AAA Salt Lake City Bees, and they currently play in Salt Lake City, but they are moving to Daybreak or South Jordan, Utah here soon. They're building a brand new stadium there, and that'll be cool because it'll be like 7 to 10 minutes away from my house, so we will be able to go to more baseball than we do now. But that's something that you need to be aware of if you're a big sports fan, what sports we do have. Number 4 thing that you might want to avoid Utah is our gas prices are really high compared to what they should be. Now, recently, over the last month, they have dropped, I want to say, right around $3.09 a gallon for regular and $3.59 for super. So prices have come down at least $1 a gallon for no apparent reason, other than I guess it's the different time of year and maybe less people are traveling, but that seems like BS because the roads don't seem any less empty than they were prior. But you just need to be aware gas is more expensive here than elsewhere in the country, other than California where it's higher than everywhere. But some of the reason that our gas is expensive here in Utah is it's trucked in rather than a pipeline where they can get it here much cheaper. The number 3 thing that you need to be aware of and you might want to avoid Utah over is our taxes. So currently, corporate and state income taxes are a flat 4.65%. So depending upon where you're coming from, that could be higher or lower. When we relocated from Nashville to Utah, we went from no state income tax to 4.65%. So that was a negative for us as far as that goes. Sales tax was cheaper here than in Nashville, but wasn't that much of a difference, or at least as far as I can tell. Maybe if I did the math over everything that we spend money on, maybe it would come out the same, but I don't think so. I think it's the tax-wise is worse here in Utah. The number 2 thing that you need to be aware of, and that's the traffic that we have and the grid system. So traffic is just exploding across the state. It's becoming worse and worse every year as more and more people move and relocate here to Utah. Depending upon which area you're in, you're going to have different sorts of traffic. Like if you're in East Utah in Moab area, then traffic is really bad around certain holiday weekends. But for the most part, most of the year, you don't really deal with much traffic there. And every time I've been there, I haven't really seen much traffic. In the Salt Lake City area, where I spend most of my time, traffic is, I would say, 15 to 30 minutes longer than it should be without traffic. So if I travel at 9 o'clock at night, I can get to Salt Lake in about 25, 30 minutes at most, and down to Provo in 35 minutes or so. And then if I'm traveling during the daytime, say rush hour, then I'm going to add 15 to 30 minutes to my drive times everywhere else. And then in the evening, the same sort of thing from about 4:30 until about 6:30. In that range, you add that extra time to your day. Down in the southern part of the state, like in the St. George hurricane area, I haven't really seen much traffic. We've been down there a couple times to stay and then traveled through there on our way to Las Vegas and never really seen a ton of traffic. However, I've heard that there's certain of the roads and are busy during certain times of day, and I'm sure that there are certain roads when school gets in and out that are awful to deal with as well. The grid system is something that you're going to need to learn how to navigate once you're here in Utah, and it starts off as a pretty big negative, at least it was for us and most people that I talked to, and that's just the coordinates of the streets. So they're like 1,000 east by 1,000 south, and they are in relation to the different temples. So when you go to like a little bit further north, then it resets to a different temple. Just know that once you learn how that system works, then you'll like it because it makes it really, really easy to get around. However, I still use, hey, it's by the Home Depot or it's by this or that to let myself know or give directions to different people. I prefer to do it that way. And I would much prefer if the streets were named, and they are naming more and more streets here after names. And I'm sure that's some to do with the amount of people that are moving here from elsewhere want the streets named something because it's easier to remember, Riverton Boulevard than 1,000 East, just for example. And then that leads us to number one on the list, and that's if you are not wanting a conservative or red state, then Utah may not be the best state for you. Utah is still a pretty red state. It votes more conservative, does every single election for the most. It is one of the biggest libertarian areas in the country, so they will vote more libertarian than they do anywhere else in the country. It'll be interesting to see this next election if Mitt Romney runs for president and runs on a different ticket. We'll see how that goes, but you just need to be aware of, we have that Utah is a very conservative state. If you are not wanting it to be so conservative, then the best area for you to choose is around Salt Lake City, and in Salt Lake County itself is the most, balanced area. I think it's pretty much 50-50. And then the further out you go, whether you're going north, south, east, west from Salt Lake, the more and more conservative it gets. So you may have thought that I would mention the LDS or Mormon church as far as something to avoid if you're moving to Utah. And that's something that people asked us when we were moving here is that why we're moving here? Well, after living here just over 2 years now, we really see that as a non-issue. More and more people here are not part of the church, so it really isn't an issue. Sundays are a plus for you because there's less people out shopping, less people at restaurants, less people just out in general. So Sundays are a great day to catch up on your shopping. Typically, we don't do our grocery shopping on Sunday just because a lot of the stores will not have everything stocked because people will shop on Friday and Saturday and load up. So we typically do that one day during the week. We'll get the majority of our stuff, but stores have become better about it, I guess, over the last few months, keeping this shelf stocked compared to when we first moved here 2 years ago, and that may just be from COVID. So hopefully these 7 things or 8 things I shared with you make you want to learn more about Utah, explore possibly moving here. So if that's the case, please reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to talk about Utah in general. I can go into a little bit more detail, the different areas in Utah and what you're looking for, your lifestyle. Like, for instance, when we moved here, I wasn't a big hiking fan. Now I am. So I'm glad that we are within 20, 30 minutes of some great hiking opportunities. And so if that's the case, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, and let's talk. And until next time, be rad.